Actor and director Spike Lee went off. That's a fair description. About the, quote, great influx of white people when he was asked this question by my next guest.
You mentioned gentrification with some slightly negative connotations, and I wondered if you've ever looked at it from the other side, which is that if your family was still in that $40,000 home, it's now worth $3.5 or $4 million.
All right, let me just kill you right now.
Okay, go for it.
Because there was some article in the New York Times saying the good of gentrification. I don't believe that.
So DK Smith is the man who ignited that firestorm. There's a lot more back and forth. You're going to hear it. And he asked Spike Lee that controversial question. He's out front tonight. All right, DK, so let me just start off with this. Look, you're asking a controversial question, but a really interesting, right? An interesting point. Hey, if you stay in the neighborhood and other people move in, whatever their color may be, property values go up, all of a sudden your house is worth a lot of value. He just goes off. Were you shocked?
I was a little surprised by the, magnitude of his going off, but I figured he would, not be positive about that issue, that facet of the issue. I agree with all of his points. What I want to do is expand the dialogue. There is a positive side to it. So everything he said I'm in agreement with. I've experienced most of it. I've lived in Brooklyn and been black, born and raised there longer than he has. So I understand exactly what he was saying. But the positive side of it, this is the first time in America that blacks have been, open to that kind of wealth creation. I mean, you bought a house for 20, 30, 40,000. Now you get 3 million, 4 million, 5 million. That's a traditional route to, being wealthy in America. We've never had that opportunity. And now many, thousands, tens of thousands of us. In the last 4 years, I have to go to 2014 before we're now able to participate in that level of wealth creation. That's a positive thing. Let's talk about that too. Let's expand the dialogue.
That's a pretty incredible statement. But when you say you've experienced what he's talking about, have you experienced in your neighborhood where you grew up and you were black and now if you felt discrimination? Because white people move in and all of a sudden they look at you like, what are you doing in this neighborhood? Are they afraid of you? Or
I've had the people who let their dogs poop on my sidewalk and they're white. And when I speak to them and they kind of look at me strange and I'm like, are you kidding me?
What, like they don't think you live there?
Like they don't think anybody lives there. I mean, I've literally, some of my neighbors have tracked people home and tossed the feces on their steps. And when they look outraged, it's like, hey, you left that on my sidewalk. I thought you forgot it. So we've had those kinds of experiences, but let me counterbalance it. By and large, wonderful new neighbors. Very happy to have them. Great neighbors, great friends, participating in the community. So it's been mostly a positive experience, but certainly we've had the negative ones from the new ones, and they come in, they start telling us what to do as if we don't know. And that's just, but it's about education. It's about educating them. It's not about backing off and complaining. You have to educate.
I mean, it's horrible here. It's incredible here. I'm glad you're sharing it because I think a lot of people would say, oh, well, that stuff can't happen now. Well, it can happen now, and it does happen now is what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, what I'm also curious about is, I mean, let's talk about Spike Lee just as an interesting case in point, right? Guy is one of the most successful people in the country. He is worth an incredible amount of money. He's selling a townhouse, apparently, according to the papers, for $32 million. He could move into a really bad neighborhood and bring everybody's real estate values up in one fell swoop.
Oh, Spike is actually a causative factor. I mean, if he moved into a swamp, the prices would go up next door immediately. So, I mean, and also, I mean, if a bad movie is of his, how much does he make? A bad movie makes 40 or 50 million, so maybe he doesn't have the full perspective of a family that's worked for 30 or 40 years, paid taxes, taking care of their property, and now that 3, 4, or 5 million to them, that's a tremendous change. Yeah. He spoke about his grandmother putting him through Morehouse. Well, some of these families, when they move south or they downsize, what do they do with the money? Now they're able to take and put their grandchildren through college or through grad school. So the money doesn't evaporate and disappear, but we've never been able to,
do real estate has always been in America. I mean, there's been bubbles and busts, but it has always been for regular Americans the only key to wealth creation. And it has always been the only one.
A pillar to the wealth in America, and now we can participate on that level.